Hello there everyone, it's Carol here. On my Facebook group I set up what's called the 5 Things Challenge, just occasionally, sporadically, and what I ask the members of the group to do is to list 5 items to challenge me to make something with them. Now, I've done this once before, and this was the little booklet that we made using the 5 items. I'll put the link in the description box down below so that if you want to go and have a look how to make one of these, then you can go along to that particular video. Now, I'm doing this video first, which is showing how to make a couple of the embellishments before I do the video of the 5 things that I've chosen for the next challenge, because I've used some of these items on that next item that I'm going to show you how to make. So in this particular booklet, this embellishment storage booklet, we've got 3 pockets. So in the front pocket where the window envelope is a collection of bits and pieces that I've made, and then in the other 2 pockets I can keep a selection of bits of papers to be able to make some more of the actual items. So the first, I'm going to show you 2, but the first item that I'm going to show you is how to make these little paper flowers. Now, there are other videos showing how to do this, but this is just my interpretation of how you go about making those. And so what you actually need are some book pages, and as you can see I've got some here already, but I'm going to show you what I actually did. So I got some book pages that I'd ripped out of a hardback book, and what I did was I ripped along one edge, down the long edge, and did that little by little. And it doesn't matter how jagged you make the edges, and it is better ripping it like this than it is actually doing it with the ruler, because the ruler can make them a little bit too uniform, and we want them to be all nice and jagged so it looks a little bit more like a petal. Now, one of the book pages, what I did was I just simply ripped it in half. With another book page I ripped it into thirds. All right, so this one I'm just going to rip in half, because each size that we're going to use is going to make a different size flower head. So that one, you can see I've just ripped into 2, but then there are other book pages that I've done and I've ripped them into thirds. All right, so they're much smaller. So let me just take a couple of those out so you can see the difference in size. Right, so these are much wider, the ones that I've just ripped in half, than the ones that I've ripped into thirds. You will need both sizes. So I then set them on top of each other, ripped the top edge off, and yes, you can do more than one book page. So I've just ripped a single book page. You can actually put 2 or 3 together and rip them all at the same time. Now I'm going to rip them down into squares. All right, so roughly that length there. All right, so I've just got some squares. And then I want to rip that bottom edge off because I want the ripped edge. Alright, and then I've done the same with the smaller versions. Rip that top edge off, roughly about there, to make some squares. And they don't have to be exact, they can just be, you know, roughly into squares, so that I've got 2 piles of squared paper. So then from a square I can make a circle. So all I'm going to do is just rip off the 4 corners and do it at a slight angle. So I'm just ripping off those corners, and they don't have to be perfect circles either. All right, so again, just ripping off the corners to make them slightly more squircular. And then of course, if there's any sort of straight edges like there is here, I can just rip it off that little bit more to make it not quite so angular. And so again, I've ended up with another little square. So I went through and I did a pile of those already. And then the next thing that I did was I've got my silicone mat and I just lined up loads of the circles and I inked them up. So firstly I went round with some vintage photo so that I'm colouring up the book page a little. And so this is why if you have a load of them all sort of ready, then you can just spend a little bit of time just inking a batch up. And then I went round and did the edge with some walnut stain. And it just helps to create a slightly darker effect around the edges. I then sat a small circle on top of a large circle, and again the text doesn't have to be lined up, it can be all skewy-fy. And then I got needle and thread, chose a button from my button box. Let's do an oval one. Placed it in the centre, popped my needle through the hole. I'm just going to poke a hole through that next one so that I can see where I need to go. So I end up with a little bit of a tail. Put it through again. So I've stitched over the button now twice and then come through to the front again and then just knot those two together by forming the loop and popping the needle through the loop twice. It just gives it a slightly more secure knot. And then trim off the tail. Now if you're a little bit worried that your paper might be a little bit delicate on the back side where you've poked the holes, then you can add a little piece of washi tape or micropore on the back to just give it the paper that little bit of extra support. But they're a quick and easy way to make a nice little decorative flower. So I'll show you again. We've got big one, little one, sit the two. Sit the button on top, poke a hole, leave the tail. Poke another hole so I know where I'm coming up. Stitch over that twice. Once. Twice. And then bring the needle and thread back through to the front. And then tie the two together. Now this is the sort of embellishment that you can make whilst you're watching TV. So it doesn't take a lot to make a batch. And so then I've got two little paper flowers to add to. Get rid of that mat because I don't want ink on my book. Now I did try some with different coloured inks. So I did that one with pink. Now personally I didn't like it too much. I preferred the vintage look, and as you can see on this one, look, I actually did it as a bow rather than a double knot. But they just make really quick embellishments and use up those book pages and buttons. So you can build yourself up a nice little collection of those ready to use as decorations in your journals. So the second quick embellishment that I made again was using up scraps of book pages and some music paper and some lace, and I've actually got some crochet doilies in here as well that I've chopped out. of a tablecloth that I've got. So I've just really haphazardly just ripped up some book pages, and the same with some scraps of music paper as well. And then I've got some lace here that I'm just going to chop into haphazardly, and I'm not going to measure them. Doesn't matter whether they're straight or angled. And then I've got some other lace that I can chop up as well. Oh, ambulance going by again. So these I'm calling preparation clusters, pre-prep clusters. So basically I'm just layering up piece of book page, piece of music paper, piece of lace, and then I'm going to staple those three together. Same again, just really quickly, not thinking about it, piece of music paper, piece of book page, piece of lace. And then staple them together. Now, these are not completed clusters. These are pre-preparation clusters, because if I've got these ready, they're neutral, and then I can decorate them up further relating to the journal that I'm making. Then I can decorate them up further as and when I come to use them in one of the journals that I'm going to make. Now, as I say, I'd got a tablecloth that had these as individual crocheted doilies on them, and I've cut them out. So again, I'll just cut them into 4, grabbing a piece of book page, piece of music paper, and I'm overlapping them so that I've got all these nice decorative edges to them. Then I've got my piece of doily, and then just stapling it together in the middle. So let's go book page, music paper, piece of lace, and let's put a bit of doily on there too. If I flip that lace over, so now I've got 4 layers, but I've then got a batch ready to use. Yeah, that way around, Carol. Piece of lace. So I've now got, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in less than 5 minutes. So they're quite quick and easy to do. I could also add a tag if I wanted to, so I could go book page, got no more music paper, another piece of book page, ticket. Turn it around because I want the text showing. A little bit of lace, yeah, a little bit of lace. Just use these last bits up. Put that one on, and that one, and then staple. So I've now got these ready to use when I'm ready to make my journal. So in the next video with the 5 things challenge, I'm going to be using these little clusters and the little paper flowers as well. So I'll see you in the next video, and I'll show you how I've used these up. Thanks for watching. See you in a bit. Bye.